And to go back to this, point I made at the very, at the beginning of that last slide, what your rights are as a worker varies widely depending on where you live, right? We've got federal level laws that provide a baseline protection, and then different states have different laws, kind of depending on their different levels of protection depending on their laws, and then there's municipalities that also have their own protection. So here's a couple of maps, right, that kind of show the diversity that we have across the states. And then this diversity is of laws is one of the things that makes it really, really hard to, engage in national level organizing, right? Much like running for office as in a third party means we have to deal with 51 different election and ballot access rules, and that makes it hard for us to organize nationally. The same is true for labor laws, right? Because each of the states has their own specific laws, it makes it a whole lot harder, to have mass action in terms of labor. But some maps up there. The first one you see is state minimum wages as of July 1st of 2023. The more orange-red a state, the higher their wage. All of those light blue states have the federal minimum wage as their minimum wage. Next up is the change in union membership, right? And if you look at the change in union membership, you've got deep red in Wisconsin, where we saw big attacks under the Scott Walker administration on collective bargaining of union members. But even traditionally, states that are traditionally thought of as very progressive states, Illinois, Minnesota, New York, they're red, which means that they're seeing a decline in union membership. The next slide with the blue map is a map of pregnant worker fairness laws. So where pregnant workers have varying levels of rights, and you'll see, right there, most of the country we don't have, strong rights supporting, reproductive freedom. The first one on the bottom, ranking public sectors, again, right? Illinois is traditionally thought of as a deep blue state, but we are deep blue with a D- grade there. New York, again, another traditionally thought of really strong blue state. It has a D. California has an F. So even our more liberal states have really bad ratings when it comes to their public sector. Next map is looking at farm worker overtime, which almost no states have protections against. And then kind of tying in with the pregnant workers fairness laws, the map on the bottom shows the countries that have paid parental leave. And of course, the United States is one of the only countries in the entire world that does not offer that. So these maps aren't so much to dive into, but just kind of an illustration of the fact that where you live is one of the biggest factors in determining your rights as a worker. And it's one of the big problems that we have in pushing back against capital, is that we have to fight 51 different battles, right? The 50 states plus DC, plus fighting for things in Puerto Rico and Guam and the other colonies that the United States maintains. So we have to fight these battles in individual states. We can't have a mass unified front and a mass unified organizing project, because the laws and the conditions are so different depending on where you live.